All right, here we go, doing another one of these. September 20th, 1996. My diary entry here is from the 20th of September, 6 days after my return from the Chilcotin Mountains of BC. We've just gone into the Mars hour, so this should be an energetic analysis. And again, a very short descriptor of the time: afternoon, damp, quiet. I was coming out of a detailed phase, and then I went back into a detailed phase again when I, of course, joined the order. I meditated very deeply, and it was in the beginning as though all the thoughts and images of the day were being run through my mind at high speed. Now, first of all, it's worth noting that the reason I mention all these thoughts and images of the day rushing through my mind at high speed is because this wasn't normal. I often did not record things that were normative. And that might be a mistake, in fact, which you could avoid. As I've said before, my deep meditations generally took about 25 to 45 minutes, in which I would often astral travel, as I called it back then. Now I think it's better said in GD terms, such as traveling in the spirit vision, since the term astral really refers to planets and space more. You know what I mean? I was also not practicing TM, Transcendental Meditation, here, since if I were, my meditation would need to end at 15 minutes, as that was my age. I also had stopped using my TM mantra during this period and was simply following what my two main guides had taught me, which I discovered a year later was more similar to the RRAC practice of rising in the plains. However, not really, right? Since I was just essentially stretching my body of light and then using it to travel. Most of the time, I was able to avoid thoughts and events racing through my mind at the beginning of meditation and mindfulness via two techniques I practiced daily. Rudolf Steiner's daily recapitulation exercise before sleep each night, I learned from a teacher at my Waldorf High School, of whom I would often ask for such anthroposophical practices. And secondly, let me explain that one first. That's where you lie in bed at night and, in reverse order, run through your mind everything that happened that day. And once you're done, relax and sleep. Very powerful. 2, Franz Barden's concentration exercises from Der Weg zum wahren Adepten, aka the poorly translated Initiation into Hermetics, which is a very misleading title from the German. His focusing exercises are similar to the GD meditations, especially the first. Techniques also adopted by the Anglican theologian Evelyn Underhill in her 1915 book Practical Mysticism, which I highly recommend. It's just a little wee book. Also, you can see my little doodle there in the corner. I wish I'd done much more illustrations like that in my diaries, so absolutely just go for it. Just go for it. Of course, you run out of time. You don't always have time to do that. That's a factor as well. I'm trying to be kind to my younger self and remember, you have a busy life as a kid going on and less control over how busy you are, especially. Whereas in adulthood, if you want to have free time, just walk into the middle of nowhere and leave the world behind you, and you will have all the free time in the world. I don't recommend that either. So the doodles and the illustrations are nice. I had to do a ton of that for main lesson books in Waldorf school, so I was pretty burnt out when just the fact that I did a ritual diary was impressive to me. Yeah, I wish I'd been a little more playful then, but I was kind of a pretty serious kid, and like most Aquarians, they say sort of mature in reverse. Yeah. I went to the top right corner of my room. First I saw myself there, then here. There, here. There, here. I repeated this, each time faster, until finally I rested. I felt a strange sensation, energy rushing through my being, until I realized that there and here were one. I sat on my altar, looking at my own meditating form. Then off to my field in Era, and there I saw my sign. Though it was charged or changed, it was not my sign. I have no idea what I'm talking about with my sign there. The astral travel technique I described, I still have talked about as being a reliable way to do that, though, do it, everyone finds a way that's best for them, it seems, but that's what really helped me. I have no idea what this sign was when I astral traveled off to Ireland. So, there's a lesson to be learned there for sure. That would be really cool to know what my sign was. Oh, damn it. So even if you keep a ritual diary every day, and you should, if you don't do it well, you end up with moments like this, clearly. So learn from my mistakes. The last part of this day's entry is, I concentrated on France, their language, city, culture. Then it came to me, a face, a stern face. The face wore a red military uniform adorned in gold. I knew this fellow had had a hard life. The energy that had risen from me was weak. Yeah, so often in my astral travels, I find it's more like, you're peering through that mist sometimes, or mist is a bad word for it, but, if you go somewhere, you might just get one face out of a crowd or one image emerging. Sometimes people tell these fantastical stories that really seem unbelievable, but everyone's different. So, yeah, though it's definitely a warning sign if someone's, you don't want to go into this place where you're just like fantasizing, making this stuff up. You want to see things that are actually there, which is why we do testing experiments for ourselves and all of that. So, enjoy the ride, but also test yourself so that you're not just full of baloney. There's maybe one more thing I can say about the point two, about seeing myself here and there. So I visualize everything about where I am, feel every sensation in my body, and then focus on where I want to be and what the sensations and where I'll be there and all the details of that place is. So do this here for maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the most, maybe 5, and then there for the same length, then shorter time here, shorter time there, back and forth, until your mind's just trying to imagine them both, and then they seem like one. And then sometimes there's a very strong response, like going down a roller coaster where your body's being pressed against the bed and you can't even move, and then boom, you're somewhere else. And the more you do that, though, I found the more I acclimatized to the pressure and the experience, and the less sort of real it sort of started to seem. But that was actually just me getting good at it. I found out later that was the case, again, in the Golden Dawn, when I had people who knew what I was talking about to share these experiences with and get some guidance and improve, and also know where to pull back and develop myself in further ways before I started going into too many crazy realms, or trying to do too many things like possess my friends while they're sleeping, which was, a very teenage thing to give a whirl. We would see if we could try and get the other person's body to wake up and go, or just go write something on a piece of paper in their room, and then we'd know that we did it. So we were doing these things with permission too. But yeah, it never seemed to work, though I had lots of other things worked. Jeez. All right, so what are the insights from this, to the takeaways? I think it's good to point them out. Record the obvious. It doesn't matter how obvious it seems to you at a time, how important this special sign or symbol or tool may be to you. If you don't record it down, it might get lost to the ages, and then in retrospect, you won't know what you were talking about. So record even the obvious as much as you can. Have fun, yeah. Illustrate, doodle, beautify. I definitely could have done just even a little bit more, just to add a bit more creativity to the process and let my imagination go a bit. But again, I was often having to do my rituals very late at night because I wouldn't let myself do my magic until I'd gotten schoolwork done. That was my deal for myself going into grade 10 and joining the order, was because I was like basically in grade 9 a straight F student, and if I didn't change that by end of grade 10, I was going to be expelled, without doubt. They all sat me down and told me that straight up. So in grade 10, I was like, yeah, I have to do schoolwork first, and maybe less D&D and Magic the Gathering. So I would just go home from school and get my schoolwork done so I could do my ritual work and go to class at the GD temple and all of those things. So I didn't often, by the time I got home from that, doing bedtime rituals and meditations or whatever other work I wanted to do. Then I'm in bed, maybe 2, 3 a.m. And thank God I was still growing up and had all that energy of youth to be able to survive on 5 hours sleep for a decade. So there we go. And yeah, use as many pages as you need. That's something, looking back now as I am in this self-analysis progress project, is use as many pages as you need. Of course, the reason I didn't is because these diaries I was using were very expensive for me at the time. I guess they were around 30, 40 bucks. So they would cost about 80, 90 to these cloth bound, hand bound diaries that I insisted on using for myself. And I was a kid, so I didn't necessarily have all the money in the world to spend, though I did work hard. So use as many pages as you need. And thanks for listening. Oh, maybe I can say something more. Be creative. Just get it all out. That's the point about using as many pages as you need. Yeah, it seems to me I omitted the details, which would let me know what I meant then in the third part of the entry. So it is sad to me now. I cannot decipher what I meant by the few words I used, no doubt to not have my entry bleed into the next page. Now, that was a big mistake. Use another page. It's okay. You'll survive.